I found some better trees to draw. So this is my view from the place I'm staying, and you see different trees from up close and far away. And I want you to study where the negative shapes are, and without drawing the trees first, and go from there. You probably do need your viewfinder for this because it's very complex. And as soon as you're outside, it's so overwhelming that if you have something to frame it, then that makes your life a lot easier, because then you can say, okay, I stop here. This is my framework. This is my reference. This is where I make my composition. So at first I'm going to make a pencil drawing with pencil only, and then I'm going to make a micron pen drawing of something else, but not too far away. This is HB or F. It's the middle value of the pencil. And when I start with trees, I always start with the bark first, with the stem, with the grounding basically. And then, as you can see, I draw the negative spaces around it to put it down where it is. There are buildings in the back, so if you have the tendency to be too detailed too soon, don't focus on the buildings. It is very tempting, especially because it's also the middle part of the whole drawing, and it would draw attention. But today we're only going to focus on trees. There's some evergreens that are prominent, and I want to keep them for a while, even though I will move them later because they're not in the right spot. So there's the mountains in the background, and I measure the distance roughly between those evergreens and the horizon of the top of the mountain, basically. Now the two trees that I started drawing the very first time, they're light. They have still very light spring leaves. So I draw an outline, and I will fill in a little bit here and there the background, because it shines through and it's darker than the grass. It is super important at this point in time to just squint and make a decision of what you really see, and what is prominent, bring that in first. Even if it's on the wrong spot, it doesn't matter, but it just gives you the bearings of what you are really looking at. And again, the barks, the trunks are very important, not only for the tree to stand, but also for all the negative shapes between them and also within them. So then look at what kind of leaves they have. Are they small or big or fluffy? And then fill it out as you see fit. For a long time it doesn't look like anything, but just keep on going. Remember, it's only pencil, so you can erase it as much as you want. I brought the mountains in the back because, again, that first tree is lighter than the background. So I want to have something darker to look at. And then the trees that are behind them are just basically fluff balls. I'm not going to go into detail at all. I look where the evergreens are. I look where the lightest trees are, and in all fairness, it's just a field of fluff balls of all different values. Some are light, some are dark. They're always dark on the bottom though, because the light is coming from the top. And they disappear in size as you go more into the mountains. So don't even try to detail anything of that size, only detail the things that are in the foreground. The tree I'm drawing there is also super light, meaning that then I have to make the background darker. So the evergreens that I drew before are actually smaller, I see that now, and they are more to the left. So I make the adjustments. Actually, it is a golf course, so what is good about it is that the roads create some negative spaces. The green, the grass, also create negative spaces. That's a lot easier probably than when you are in a forest. We've seen that in the forest, then it becomes where the shadows are. Since I am looking down on the golf course, I can draw the details, more or less details, of a maple in the front. Now that's going to be the biggest front part, has the highest contrast. I don't draw every leaf, I squint. Squinting to do this kind of work is very, very important. Now the maple in the front and the next drawing I'm doing, they have pointy leaves. So try to mimic that from the start, that you know the characteristics of that tree. In the back you don't see it. So again, these are all fluff balls. And in the mountain itself, there are darker parts and lighter parts, but that part is really totally abstract. You can make a contour, an outline around the trees, but don't make it too rigid. Make it playful and light, and make the difference between the trees more within the shading, the values, than the outline. If the outline is too rough, too strong, you're not going to give the tree enough playroom, I would say, because the tree itself does not have a strong outline. So do one first like this, just pencil, but detailed pencil with all the details you want to have in it, and then leave it at that. And then we're going to look at a second drawing with just very light outline of the tree, and then we're going to fill it in with micron. I do that for two reasons, because once you sit down and you're going to bring all these details in, it's super elaborate. It takes so long, and you better then have a pen drawing than a pencil drawing, in my opinion. So now I'm going to look at something that is much closer. I'm looking actually out the window. It is starting to rain, so it's better to find a view from my window, which is fine. And I'm drawing 3 different trees, not really all trees. There's a bush behind it and in the front of it. Negative shapes, again, with trees are super important because you have nothing to hold on to. There is no logic. There's no logic in the perspective. There's no logic in the organic shapes of the trees. So you really, the only thing really you have is your negative shape. The good thing about all that is that nobody really can tell if you're 100% right or not. But you do want to make an estimate of how the characteristic of the tree actually really is. So you find that by studying the leaves, the way they look, and the way they bundle together. For example, in this drawing, the maple tree has kind of a horizontal bundling, and the leaves are very pointy. So I'll leave it at that. This is all the drawing I'm going to do in pencil. And now, since it's all so much work, I'm only going to do micron for the rest of the time. The bushes in the front have different leaves, but they do have kind of an outline. Squint, again, squint. And then you see the darker parts, you see the stems, you see the branches. Try to keep the shape of the leaves the way you see them. They are kind of pointy, but they have more body than the maple behind it. The maple behind it is really all stars, very pointy stars. And the bush in front is just an oval with a point. Again, the shadow parts are most in the bottom. That's almost a rule for anything. When they're pointed next to one another, the one in the back mostly shows the darker side. So study this a little bit. Don't be intimidated. Just try to see where the values are. Values are super important in this case. And then also the shapes. That's how they are going to be different from each other. I will show you the photograph in the end. I don't want to do it now. And then you see what we're working at. You don't even have to make a photograph of what you're doing, because it's a drawing. Like I explained that before. You're making a drawing. You're not copying a photograph. And the fun is to really make the puzzle where it all ends up. I did make the mountains in the front, so then that has kind of a color or a value as well. I regret, again, not having some black watercolor, not for the leaves, but for the mountain. That would have made it a lot easier. So do the best you can, and I'm curious to see what you come up with. So in a way, I'm playing it rough because this is a very dark tree, and I don't really care that much if it has a regular hatching or cross hatching, because the leaves are tiny, kind of tiny. So I want to put the value down first with the hatching and cross hatching, and I will go over it to smoothen it later, or actually bring in the characteristics of the separate leaves, which, like I said before, is very pointy. And so the characteristic is the tree is pointy and dark and has horizontal spreading of the canopy. The mountain in the back, again, could have been done with watercolor. If you have it, please do. The big surfaces, that's a nice thing to do. But if you don't, it's not a big deal either. Now the lighter part underneath the mountain is where the light hits the canopy of very light green spring trees, leaves. So this is basically it. You will see as soon as you see the picture what I left out. I left out some details of the surroundings, like the irises. And you can do that too. But be careful not to leave out details that you might really need. Good luck with it, and I'll talk to you later.